Hello. Let's talk about irony. Irony is a word that people use a lot. They say things are ironic. They use the term irony a lot. But a lot of time people misuse the term when they really mean something more like coincidence. But irony is a pretty important part of a story because, again, we want a certain amount of realism. We want to be able to follow a story, but what makes a story interesting and what helps create suspense is when things don't go the way that we or the characters expect them to go. And that's where irony comes into play. So what is irony, if it's not the thing that everybody typically thinks it is? Irony is basically all about truth versus appearance. The definition that your textbook gives is that it is a situation or statement characterized by a significant difference between what is expected or understood and what actually happens or is meant. Okay, so we're going to break that down because it's pretty lengthy. Pretty beefy definition. But the idea is that things appear one way and turn out not to be that way in the end. So there are different types, different forms of irony that can be found in a story, and we are going to talk about all four, and you are going to need to know all four for the Lit Terms test. We're also going to do some practice looking for examples next time we meet, so you might want to start thinking about them before you come in. All right, types of irony. There are 4 types of irony. Let's start with verbal irony. With verbal irony, there's a difference between what a character says and what turns out to be the truth. Okay, so this can take a few different forms. Verbal irony can be sarcasm. Now, not all sarcasm is verbal irony. All sarcasm is verbal irony, but not all verbal irony is sarcasm. Okay, you can have other kinds too. Sarcasm is a special kind of verbal irony because it's calculated. It's intended to be hurtful. Right? We all know, we've all heard sarcasm. Maybe you're sarcastic yourself, but the idea is that you say something and you mean the opposite of what it is you're saying. And the idea is that you kind of assume that whoever you're being sarcastic to understands that you mean the opposite of what you're saying. So if you said to someone like, wow, I really like your shirt, that's like the coolest shirt I've ever seen, and then laugh behind their back, you're being sarcastic. Or like, wow, great job, you're a genius, kind of thing. So when really you mean the opposite, like you think the person's the opposite of a genius. So again, the idea behind sarcasm is that you're assuming that the recipient understands that you don't mean what you're saying, you mean the opposite of that, and that you're saying it to be kind of a jerk. Or you might have a character who lies, right? That's another form of verbal irony. A character like knowingly is saying something that is the opposite of what is true, just like real people do. So what the character says and what is actually true are not the same. Or maybe the character is just ignorant. In the fact, like they say something and they think that it's true, like they believe what they're saying, but it's not true. I mean, they don't know that it's not true. They're not lying. They're just ignorant of the truth. They assume something to be true and say that it is when it's not. Right? So not like they're being calculating or lying. They just don't know any better. Okay, situational irony. With situational irony, basically what the characters and or the readers expect to happen is not what ends up happening. Okay, so let's break that down for a second. Notice the and or there, which means that with situational irony, maybe the characters aren't expecting what ends up happening. Like they think something's going to happen, or one or more at least. They think something's going to happen, and that's not what happens at all. Okay. Or maybe the readers as well are led to expect a certain outcome, and that's not at all what happens. Okay? So again, it could be both, or it could be one or the other. So maybe characters do something that we don't expect to happen. Right? We expect them to do one thing and they do something else. Or maybe, what the characters expect is not what they get. So that's situational irony. What the characters and or readers expect to happen is not what occurs. Okay, moving on. Types of irony continue. The third type of irony that you need to know is dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is basically when we, the readers, have information that the characters don't have. We know something they don't know. Not like we can guess, not like we can assume, like we straight up know facts that one or more characters are not aware of. Okay? So then the suspense comes in from like waiting to see whether they're going to find out the truth or like how they're going to find out the truth, how it's all going to come crashing down, whatever. So the reason it's called dramatic irony is because you get a lot of this in drama, in theater, in plays, because you can't have all the characters on stage at the same time, right? They're constantly entering and exiting the stage. And so what'll happen is you'll have, characters who are on the stage and they might be talking about or even plotting against another character who's not on stage at that moment, who's not in the scene, right? So they might be like plotting the murder of another character, and then, the person the character that they're planning on killing, enters the stage, enters the scene, like no idea what was going on, and is, chatting with the characters, like no clue whatsoever that they were just plotting his or her death. Or maybe they leave and the character shows up and is like, wow, everything's going my way, what a great day, best birthday ever, that kind of thing. And the whole time we're thinking like, oh my gosh, this character has no idea what's really going on. But we know. So we have information that this character doesn't know. That's dramatic irony. So people tend to mix up situational and dramatic irony a lot, especially on the Litterms test, but there's a big, big difference. Okay, the big difference being with dramatic irony, again, we've got intel, we've got information that one or more characters don't have. With situational, we might be just as shocked as the characters are. I hope that makes sense. And finally, cosmic irony. Okay. Cosmic irony, basically, the forces of the universe, however you define them, kind of come together to dash the hopes or expectations of one or more of the characters. Okay, so the characters start out with some kind of like expectation for their day or for their life or whatever, for their trip, for their what have you, their quest, and then the universe, the powers that be, could be Greek gods or it could be just bad luck, just not their day, or maybe even like karmic retribution or divine intervention, that kind of a thing. Basically are like, no, sorry, not today. So that would be, oh my gosh. So remember that song by Alanis Morissette, right? Isn't it ironic? Well, a lot of that song, a lot of the examples she gave weren't actually examples of irony at all. But the one that she got right, the one I'm going to hand to her, is the one where she said, it's like rain on your wedding day, right? That is irony. It's cosmic irony, right? So it's cosmic irony because the wedding party, the members involved, bride, whoever, they have certain hopes, expectations for the big day, and oops, it's raining out, and that sort of dashes the hope. I mean, nobody wants that, right? So it's just bad luck. Sorry. Tough. Or if you, leave your house in the morning and, there's like a giant bird crap on your windshield, and it's so bad that you have to like stop what you're doing and like walk and scrape it off, and that makes you late for class, and it's just that kind of a thing. Just bad luck. Sorry. Or crazy snow days and end up canceling class and sort of dashing the expectations of certain English teachers. That you could say is cosmically ironic too. So hopefully those are the four types of irony. Hopefully the difference between the four makes sense to you, because again, we're gonna get some practice next time we meet for class, looking for different examples in the readings that we've done, and there are a lot in all the stories we've read. So hope that made sense, and I will see y'all later. Take care.